Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday service. My name is Nayaswami Jayanti, if you don't know me, and this is Nayaswami Bhavani, and it's our great blessing and honor to share Sunday service with you. Today is the first Sunday of Advent, and I thought I would call this to your attention in case you hadn't thought about it, because we don't necessarily in our church celebrate Advent as other churches do with the lighting of a candle. Each Sunday it's a different candle. But nonetheless, the Advent is the announcement of the coming. Well, what is the coming? It's the Christ child, which to us is the Christ consciousness. So it's a wonderful opportunity to take 4 weeks of the Advent season to try and go deeper and deeper and deeper. Because who's to say, as the reading indicates, we don't know when the Christ consciousness will come. It's also interesting to me, and I don't think it's any accident in the cosmic plan, that we always celebrate Thanksgiving a month before Christmas. I don't know if you've thought about it, but I always try and see, what is it Divine Mother's doing? Why did she arrange this way? Well, when you're grateful, what happens? The heart opens. And we can't really receive Christ consciousness if our heart isn't open. So we begin this season every fall with Thanksgiving. So we come together, and certainly with the history of it is we celebrate the harvest and be thankful for all of our blessings. But you can't be thankful for your blessings without opening your heart. So it's wonderful that it occurs in that sequence. And then we get 4 Sundays and 30 days to basically take that consciousness of gratefulness and being open to the divine to a deeper and deeper and deeper level. Because who knows? Christmas comes every year and we can get kind of ho-hum about it. Oh yeah, there's all the gifts to buy and the tree to put up and all of the things that go on outwardly with Christmas. And those are all wonderful, and we should celebrate those things and with great joy and with God. But what if you knew, just think for a moment, what if you knew that this Christmas was the Christmas that Christ consciousness would come to you? And if you hold that thought as you go through this season and just realize there is no reason why it couldn't happen, and what if you knew it was going to happen? How would you act? What would you do differently if you knew for a fact that Christ himself was going to come to you on Christmas morning? And then live your life accordingly for the next 4 weeks. I think all of us can benefit by doing that and really take the experience of the Christmas season to a deeper and deeper level. The parable that Christ is talking about here, and another interesting point, I always think, why did Swami Kriyananda pick this particular reading, first of all, to go with the affirmation of immortality, but then also, why now? What is it that he was thinking that we needed to hear at this point in the season? Because he wrote these readings for every week in the year. And when I first started looking at this material, when I first sat down and I thought, well, what is it to fail spiritually? Yeah, that's kind of a tough topic. How does that go with getting ready for Christmas? But in truth, what he went on to say, quoting Christ, is that in the parable of the virgins, who were the ones that were ready when the bridegroom came? The ones that kept the oil of devotion in their lamp. Those were the ones that were ready when he came, and so they were able to receive him and go with him. Now, when I was young in the Methodist Church and I heard this parable, I had not a clue what bridegrooms and virgins had to do with me. I didn't understand the mystical side, of course, of the parable because I didn't have Yogananda's teachings to really explain it, so it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But the way Yogananda explains it, he describes the 10 virgins symbolize the different types of devotees. He described them, meaning Christ described them, as virgins because in mystical tradition there is only one male principal, the bridegroom, which is God. He is the male principal. All the rest of us are female by comparison. So we are all bridegrooms. I mean, we are all virgins in that sense. He is the bridegroom. So it's a very deep teaching here. It's interesting, Christ goes on to say that 2 will be gathered in the field. 1 will be taken, and 1 will remain. 2 women grinding at the mill. 1 will be taken, and 1 will remain. What is that deeper meaning? Those who are open to that divine experience, those who have been communing with God and their hearts are open and they're ready to embrace that grace, are ready to go when the Christ consciousness comes. And those who are not, very simply, don't go. Does that mean failure? No. God is a God of love, so he wouldn't damn us all to hell for all eternity. As the reading says, that is the vindictiveness of the human mind, has nothing to do with reality. But it behooves us not to be fearful about it, because fear can only attract negativity, but a little bit of apprehension about that is more not taking the experience for granted. Realizing that we have been put in this life in the position that we're in for a particular reason. And for those of us who have embraced Yogananda as our guru and this our path, he came as an avatar, just as Christ did. And if we are open to the consciousness he brought, just as being open to the consciousness of Christ, we can receive him. Jesus said to the many who received him, to them they became the sons of God. We have to be open to receive the Christ consciousness. It's also interesting that in the Christmas season we celebrate Christ as a child, a little tiny baby, innocent, vulnerable child, born into the kingdom of the ugly Herod, and under a lot of duress. And Mary and Joseph had to flee almost immediately to Egypt to flee the wrath of Herod. So he was tiny, he was vulnerable, he needed love, he needed protection, he needed that blessing. And even so, that is the way the Christ consciousness can be born in our heart. It's something tiny, it's fragile, it's vulnerable in the beginning. And we have to nurture it. And we have to protect it, and we have to keep that consciousness sacred. It's so easy during the Christmas season because there's so much going on outside, and it's all wonderful. Well, Christmas festivities are all wonderful and beautiful. There's a lot of other things going on in the world that aren't as wonderful and beautiful. But nonetheless, we can protect that little Christ child in the cradle of our heart and keep our sadhana strong and use this season just to take our consciousness deeper and deeper and deeper until on Christmas morning, voila, who knows? What an incredible blessing that would be. I'll just tell a story. This is an aside, not really on the topic, but I thought you might enjoy it. We've been gone for a couple of Sundays, as some of you may have noticed. Maybe not, but anyway, we were in Clovis, California last weekend with my younger son and his family, and they have 2 little kids, a daughter 5 named Noelle, Christmas name, and little Levi, who is 6, a very precocious 6-year-old. And we had a wonderful Thanksgiving with them, and then before the weekend was over, we helped them put up their Christmas tree, and my son had decided to buy them a new television set so the family can enjoy television together. So it was a real festive weekend. And little Levi, who, if anybody reads Baby Blues in the comic strips, anybody read Baby Blues? Okay. Well, Baby Blues is a comic strip about family life. A young couple who has 3 small kids. And the middle one is a little boy, and his name is Hammy, short for Hamish, which is an interesting name. And little Hammy is always getting into trouble. Just being a boy, just being natural. Well, Levi kind of reminds Hanuman and I of little Hammy. So while we put up the Christmas tree and everything was beautiful, and Hanuman and Vajra, my son, got the television up on the wall, and we had all been relaxing and enjoying that. And then we went for a walk, and while we were out for a walk, this new television, by the way, has a voice-activated remote control. So we all went for a walk except Elizabeth, Levi's mom, and Levi. And Levi wanted to play on his Kindle. He has a game called Minecraft, and some of you parents may know what that is. I've never played it, but he creates worlds and does all kinds, and he loves this game. Well, there happened to be on YouTube some videos about, tips about how to advance to different levels in this game. And he has enjoyed watching some of those in the past. So we were all out for a lovely walk, enjoying the fall air and the beautiful colors of autumn around us. And meanwhile, little Levi, who was supposed to be playing with his Kindle, and was for a while, all of a sudden the house got quiet. Now Elizabeth was resting in the bedroom, but she had her ears open, as most mothers do. And all of a sudden she hears this, YouTube. As he's trying to activate the television to come on and show him YouTube. And he is so precocious. Nothing gets by this kid. He's just amazing. Of course, as soon as his mom heard that, all ideas of resting was over, and she came out to the living room to retrieve the remote control. Fortunately, it didn't actually activate the television, so he wasn't rewarded. His behavior wasn't rewarded. But it's always fun to be with them and see. He actually won an award this week, by the way, at school for mathematician. He's incredibly good at math. He's only in 1st grade, but he's very good. And also perfect attendance. So he's not all hammy. Anyway, back to the subject. So the other thought I had is, as we go through the Advent season and really focus on the awareness that Christ consciousness is coming, there is no doubt. Christ consciousness is coming. It's our birthright. It could be in 5 minutes. It could be in a week. It could be on Christmas Day. So if we can live our lives accordingly and know that Christ is with us, it's so easy to think of Christ as an event, a person who lived 2,000 years ago, lived his 33 years, did his ministry, and then was crucified and died, and now he's gone. But we know that that's not the case. He's just as much alive today as he was then, and just as much alive as he was before he incarnated then, as is the case with all our masters. So if we can really tune into that level of consciousness as we go through this Advent season and really feel the blessings, and as we're celebrating outwardly, which is fine to do, try to mentally at least pull back just a little bit from that outward involvement and keep talking to Christ within, so that we can feel the greatest blessings of this season inwardly and also share them outwardly. I thought I would share Master's meditation from Metaphysical Meditations for, this is for Christmas Eve, but we're starting 4 weeks early. Lift your eyes and concentrate within. Behold the astral star of divine wisdom, And let the wise thoughts in you follow that telescopic star to behold the Christ everywhere. In that land of everlasting Christmas, of festive, omnipresent Christ consciousness, you will find Jesus, Krishna, the saints of all religions, the great guru preceptors, all waiting to give you a divine floral reception of ever-new, everlasting happiness. Prepare for the baby Christ by decorating the Christmas tree of your universal love with gifts of calmness, forgiveness, nobility, service, kindness, spiritual understanding, and devotion, wrapped in your golden goodwill and bound with the silver cord of your pure sincerity. On the Christmas tree of Christ consciousness, hang your material desires to remain forever. Give unto Christ all your gifts of love and devotion. Let him, on the Christmas morn of your spiritual awakening, unwrap the gorgeous present of your heart offerings that have been sealed with the tears of your golden joy and bound with the cord of your eternal fidelity to him. He accepts only the gifts of sacred soul. Dreams and his acceptance will be his greatest gift to you. For if he gives anything to anyone, he gives nothing less than himself. In giving himself, he will make your heart big enough to hold him. Then your heart will throb with Christ in everything. Enjoy this festivity, the birth of Christ, in your mind, in your soul, and in every living atom. By daily meditation, you will prepare the cradle of your consciousness to behold the infinite baby Christ, and every day will become a true Christmas of Christ communion. May we all have a blessed Christmas. We'll have no our offering.